Hi, welcome to QuickBooks in the Real World. This is Marie Gibson, where I encourage business owners to take charge of your accounting and truly run your business profitably. As you know, I've been demonstrating the QuickBooks Online and the QuickBooks Desktop modules. This little snip has to do with payroll, and we're going to see how it's set up in desktop. And I have another screen for setting it up in the QuickBooks Online. So if you've gotten into the wrong program, just let me know and I'll make sure that you get the correct one. I'm going to share my screen. And again, we'll see Larry's Landscaping, which is my sample company. This is my home screen. And as you know, I have a payroll center down at the bottom. If you do not have a payroll center, you may need to edit preferences. And when you're in edit preferences, if you haven't looked at edit preferences, there's a whole little candy store in here. But it's payroll and employees, and you'd want full payroll, no payroll, or online payroll. Again, there's 3 different versions of paid services that Intuit offers. I love full service payroll. Again, it's relatively inexpensive. They pay your liabilities. They make sure they're paid on time. They file your reports for you. And again, I don't receive commissions out of Intuit for suggesting their payroll. I've been suggesting it for years. So whether you're in the online or the desktop version or thinking about changing, you'll love the payroll in Intuit. So we're here. This is Employee Center. I have tabs, and you can see this is my list of employees. These are the individual transactions that you can see have been made. And then under payroll, I have more tabs. So this is where I would actually pay my employees, pay my liabilities, or file the forms. And again, it's going to ask you for some details. In our sample company, we are just a tad bit restricted. But let's say that we wanted to add a new employee. So I'd come into add new employees, and let's go add a new employee. And the legal name, of course, print on the checks. And let's see, Joe Green, and I can fill it in. It's fill in the blanks, right? And then there's tabs, more tabs, more tabs. One thing you want to make sure is that you have them on the same schedule or on a different schedule, right? What schedule are you going to be running payroll? When you set them up, are you going to have direct deposit, which allows the money to be deposited directly in his bank account? And then filling in his forms, the W-9s, the filing status, and he is subject to Medicare, Social Security, and unemployment. And in our state, sometimes people don't fill this in because they think, well, we don't have state income tax. You still need to fill it in because the company is responsible for paying some other taxes to the state. It's not income tax for the employees, but it's definitely taxes that need to be taken into consideration. And so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that for now and say, okay. And what happens is Nevada also has an additional little, it's 0.05%. Thank you very much. I've added my taxes. You also have the capability of adding sick and vacation time. It's a great tracking tool. Absolutely love the features in here. And then when I've worked through all of these tabs and I filled out what I need, the name cannot be blank. So Joseph Green, it won't let you forget to print on the check as Joseph Green. Thank you very much. And there's Joe Green hanging out. There's Marie Gibson as an employee. Now you see that she has a -E. That's because she's an employee. Marie Gibson's also a vendor. Marie Gibson's also a customer. So we can actually make the little bit of difference in the way that her name is spelled. So we can add her to all 3 lists. Otherwise, she can only be in your books one time. So let's come back to payroll. And let's say that we want to start our scheduled payroll. And it doesn't have the information because another paycheck exists. Thank you very much. It's giving us some messages because we don't have a live payroll subscription. But here we would actually say, okay, Duncan, Jenny, Joseph, Marie, and Shane, we're going to pay you on this date. And again, I'm going to bump these just a little bit so that we can see them on our reports. Let's, actually, I think we'll take them to this was in the sample company so that we'll find them on our profit and loss report and our balance sheets, right? So it says another, we don't need to worry about those existing paychecks. Again, if you had some hanging out there, that would be a problem, but ours are strictly because I'm using the sample company. So let's take Duncan. And in this case, Duncan has some regular pay. He has 80 hours. He's paid $17.25. And this is how much he's paid, $1,380. Except we know that he doesn't get to keep all of that, right? So there's a little bit of health insurance deducted. There's some federal withholding, Social Security. There's Medicare, California. He actually happens to live in California. So his check amount is $1179.83. On the bottom left-hand corner, this is the portion that the company owes in additional taxes. So we took out this $59 and we took out the $85 and the $20. So the company is matching those Social Security and Medicare taxes. So here's the $85.56 and the $20 and a penny. We don't match the federal withholding. This is actually the income tax that Duncan is going to be paying right at the end of the year. This is when you file your tax return. This is the number that comes from. It's called federal withholding. The company doesn't match, but the company is responsible for matching these two items. And the software works that way. So let's go to Jenny Miller. And as a designer, she gets $1,673. There is her gross, we'd call that gross payroll. And then she has some federal withholding, Social Security and Medicare as well. So each one of these, and we didn't set up this poor gentleman. We said, well, maybe, and his hours are 20. Thank you very much. And we didn't set him up completely. You can see that we didn't set him up with federal withholding correctly, and his Social Security and Medicare are just minuscule, okay? And so, but that's his paycheck. That's exactly what he would take. He would take away two, and maybe he only worked a day or two, right? Or 1.5 days. And then, thank you, don't tell me again, Marie Gibson, where are we gonna track her hours even though she's on salary, and then does she have some regular pay? You can see that I've been playing with this company file just a little bit. And sometimes people will want more withholding taken out, right? So I can take out more on any one given check, or I can set it up so that it takes out more than the requirements on a regular basis. And the software is terrific. I love working with it. And then Shane, and then save and close. And then we would either continue or finish later. And if I create these checks on this specific date, which is 12/28, I'm going to go look at the reports. I can print the paychecks or I can print the stubs. And even though let's say they were set up for direct deposit, you're still responsible for emailing stubs or sending stubs to your employees. So here we have the profit and loss. And if we look at the profit and loss, I want to make sure my dates are correct. I would come down here into payroll expenses. And when I double click, and I go to payroll expenses, I would expect to see there's Joseph Green's little dab and Marie Gibson's little dab. These numbers include this, the 305,192, and they include the business portion, the company portion of the Medicare and the federal and unemployment. So that's how they hit the profit and loss report. This is on all inclusive. Now, some people actually separate those out. Could be payroll expenses and a separate account called payroll taxes, right? So you can have both. In addition, you still have a balance that you owe. So if we tighten this up just a little bit, I have payroll liabilities of $5,361 on this particular balance sheet for the end of the year. And so we saw a little bit of that. If I go back into my employee center and I want to pay my liabilities, I have the capabilities of paying the California withholding right here. And California withholding is probably electronic funds payment, correct? So we would view and pay that. The 941 is done through EFTPS. And again, if you have a particular service with Intuit, they pay these for you, or you can pay them direct through your login on the EFTPS service. Your health insurance is accumulating, and at some point in time, you'll have a premium payment for that. And then here's another California tax, and the federal 940, which is paid once a year, or depending on when your liability hits a certain level, okay? But you can see the detail behind that. And so it's really just a phenomenal software. I'm going to view and pay. This is my employment development department, California withholding. I'm going to send this. I'm going to print this check, or I'm going to be creating a EFT payment, right? And I would say close. By processing this liability at this location, it reduces the liabilities that you had. Doesn't change the profit and loss report. Profit and loss report still is exactly the same. Profit and loss, it's when your payroll processed. These were your expenses and wages. These were expenses and taxes. The fact that amount of that is being held on your balance sheet and you still owe it, once you pay, doesn't change this profit and loss report. And that's how we disconnect the expenses from those liabilities. Liabilities are already recorded as an expense. We just have to pay them at some point in time. And usually it's just a few days. I encourage business owners to go ahead and pay those. Stop using payroll taxes as kind of a float. It's not a float, it's not your money. I encourage you to pay those as soon as you've run your payroll checks. Get it out of there, because otherwise you'll accidentally spend it, and then how are you going to pay when it actually does come true? So this is Marie Gibson. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your interest in learning about payroll. Let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to talking with you soon.